Now, the founding of the Sempervirens Fund, originally established in 1900 as the Sempervirens Club, is one of the tipping points in the attitude of Californians to California that history now records as the progressive movement. And I must emphasize this is progressivism with a capital P 100 years ago. The word has shifted somewhat since that time. Writing in the Atlantic Monthly in 1899, David Starr Jordan, founding president of Stanford University, suggested that it was time for Californians to get serious about California itself, serious about state and local government, serious about streamlining the political process, serious about taking better care of the environment. Within the year, Jordan was hosting a meeting on 1 May 1900 in the library of Stanford University, the first meeting of a newly formed Committee on Saving the Redwoods that had developed over the past year in Santa Cruz County, Santa Clara County, and the city and county of San Francisco. Within 17 months of this meeting, legislation had been passed creating a park commission with an advisory board on the state level, empowered to investigate the purchase of Santa Cruz County properties rich in redwood trees on the verge of being devastated by wholesale lumbering. The demiurge behind this rapid development, as we all know, was photographer Andrew P. Hill, whose dedicated father tree in the California Redwood Park that would soon be created stands as an enduring monument to the role Hill played in catalyzing this conservationist movement, beginning with the day he photographed a grand redwoods on the verge of being clear-cut. When challenged by grove owners and lumberjacks, Hill refused to turn over his negatives on the basis that these trees could not be considered exclusively private property. They were rather living entities dating back to classical times and even earlier, and as such deserve protection in and of themselves, and because their destruction hurt the environment and human culture with equal violence. At the time that California became an American state in September 1850, a vast redwood forest extended up the coast of California from Big Sur to and across the Oregon border. It took up to 2,500 years to create this forest, and it was matched by a great U-shaped running forest of oak trees, proceeding up the coast, crossing west to east in the northern part of the state, then running down the foothills of the Sierra Nevada into Southern California. By 1900, perhaps only 10% of these redwood trees, some historians estimate as low as 5%, had survived an orgy of lumbering in which Americans in California used redwood not only to create elegant interiors and floors, which can perhaps be possibly understood, but felled these great trees so as to acquire wood for fences, grape stakes, barns, and chicken coops. Maybe the barns could even be understood, even forgiven, given the fact that these redwood barns survive as works of art throughout the state today. But chicken coops, such was another matter entirely. When in 1853, Henry David Thoreau read that Americans had cut down a gigantic sequoia and polished its stump into a dance floor, he exclaimed that California seemed an antechamber to hell itself. In the destruction of these trees, Thoreau saw at work a primal human hatred of whatever reminded men of their own insignificance. The trees were so grand and venerable. This is what he said of the destruction of these trees. They could not afford to let them grow a hair's breadth bigger or live a moment longer to reproach themselves. Yet despite such destruction, there was another side to the American moral character and imagination when it came to the California environment. At the core of the 19th century Anglo-American Protestant imagination, there was a sense of nature in general and the American continent in particular, as a species of scriptural text, a direct revelation, if you will, of divinity itself. This helps account for the fact that so many of the earliest responses to the Yosemite were theological in nature. Visiting the valley in July 1860, for example, the Reverend Thomas Starr King, pastor of the First Unitarian Church of San Francisco, later remembered that he had experienced on the valley floor, quote, that which the Israelites felt amid the passes of Sinai when the divine glory was on the mount. The Yosemite, King preached to his congregation, was California's scripture of stone, calling to spiritual greatness, challenging Americans in this newly acquired province to build within themselves what King called Yosemites of the soul.